The St. Regis Atlanta ballroom shimmered like a jewel box on the night of October 18th. 300 crystal chandeliers drift light onto emerald green tablecloths and gold-rimmed china. The string quartet played a tasteful cover of At Last, and every seat was filled with Atlanta's black elite. Judges, surgeons, Delta executives, Spelman and Morehouse presidents, a handful of Falcons players, 2 gospel legends, and at least 5 women who had been on somebody's most powerful list this year. At the head table sat Dr. Marcus and Keisha Whitfield, married exactly 30 years on this Saturday night. Marcus, 55, still handsome in his midnight blue tuxedo, flashed the smile that had once made nurses blush and patients trust him with their faces. Keisha, 53, looked like money that had been quiet for a long time and finally decided to speak. Her emerald silk gown caught every light in the room, and the triple strand of South Sea pearls at her throat had belonged to her grandmother, Miss Etta Mae Johnson, though almost no one in the room knew that yet. Marcus rose first, tapping his champagne flute with a spoon. The room hushed. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, voice smooth as aged bourbon, 30 years ago, I stood in a little church on Cascade Road and promised to love this woman forever. Tonight, I have to be honest with her and with all of you." A nervous ripple passed through the tables. Keisha's best friend, Sorer Denise, reached for her hand under the tablecloth. Marcus continued, "People grow. Seasons change. Sometimes love evolves into something else. Keisha, you've been an incredible partner, but I can't pretend anymore." He reached into his inside pocket and produced a thick cream envelope. The room inhaled as one. "These are divorce papers," he announced, loud and proud, holding them high so the photographer he had hired could get the shot. "I'm in love with someone else, someone who sees the man I am today, not the boy I was 30 years ago." Gasps ricocheted off the chandeliers. From the wings stepped Brielle Carter, 29, head nurse at Whitfield Aesthetics, wearing a backless white dress that cost more than most people's rent. A 5-carat emerald-cut diamond, new, glinted on her left hand. She looped her arm through Marcus's like she belonged there. Keisha's mother, Mrs. Loretta Johnson, rose halfway out of her chair, mouth open in horror. The Morehouse president looked like he was calculating how fast he could revoke an honorary degree. Marcus turned to the crowd again. "I want to do this with dignity, Keisha. You'll always have my respect. The Buckhead house is yours, of course, and a generous settlement. I just need you to sign tonight so we can all move forward with grace." He slid the papers across the linen like he was passing the dinner rolls. The ballroom was so quiet you could hear the ice melting. Keisha stood slowly. Every eye followed the emerald silk as it cascaded around her. She took the microphone from the stunned MC. "Thank you, Marcus," she said, voice soft as velvet yet carrying to the last row. 30 years is a long time to learn a person, long enough to know when they're lying and long enough to prepare. A few people leaned forward. Keisha smiled, not the polite wife smile everyone was used to, but something regal and a little dangerous. "See, I've known about Brielle since the Valentine's Day you claimed you were at the OR all night. I knew about the apartment you rented for her on Peachtree Battle. I knew about the $1.2 million in secret practice loans you took out to keep her in Birkins and Benzels." Brielle's smile faltered. Marcus tried to laugh it off. "Keisha, this isn't the time." "Oh, it's exactly the time," Keisha cut in sweetly, "because tonight is about truth, isn't it, baby?" She reached into the small clutch on her chair and pulled out a slim green leather folder. "Let me tell you all a story," she said, opening it. "In 1993, my grandmother, Miss Etta Mae Johnson, who most of y'all only know as the lady who owned a little duplex on Lyndhurst Drive, quietly bought 6 acres on West Pacey's Ferry and the commercial lot where Whitfield Aesthetics now sits.
She put every deed in my name alone the week before our wedding, said, "Baby, love is grand, but land is greater." She held up the first document, a 1993 warranty deed, bold as Sunday. The room detonated in whispers. Marcus added his name to the house in 2008 when we refinanced, but the land and the surgical building never left my name. So when you stand there talking about generous settlements, understand something. You don't own the roof over your own practice, darling. I do. Marcus went the color of weak coffee. Keisha wasn't finished. "Second fun fact," she said, flipping to the next page. 3 years ago, Marcus told the world he invented the Whitfield lift, the little device that lets him do a facelift through a 2-inch incision. What he forgot to mention is that the sketches were mine, drawn on the back of my lesson plans while I was teaching AP English at Mays High School. I filed the patent quietly in 2021. Last month, Johnson & Johnson licensed it for $11 million, paid to me, not the practice. Me. Brielle's hand slipped off Marcus's arm like it had been greased. Keisha turned to her. "Sweetheart, that 5-carat ring, he put it on a credit card that's about to be declined." Laughter, sharp and shocked, bubbled up from the Spellman table. "Third thing," Keisha said, voice dropping to church hush, "the practice owes $1.87 million in hidden debt, since Marcus signed for it personally. Since he spent it on trips to Tulum and a condo for Brielle, the bankruptcy trustee is going to want every dime back from him, not me." She closed the folder. "So let's be clear about tonight's math. I keep the West Pacey's house, paid off, the commercial building, paid off, the patent money, deposited last week, my retirement, my teacher pension, and my peace." She looked at Marcus like he was a stranger who had wandered into the wrong party. Then she turned to the crowd, raised her glass, and smiled wide enough to light Buckhead. "Y'all came for an anniversary. Looks like we giving you an emancipation celebration instead. To new beginnings." The room exploded. Sorors jumped to their feet screaming. Phones were out. Someone started "Lift Every Voice and Sing" in the corner. Mrs. Loretta was fanning herself with both hands, shouting, "That's my baby." Marcus tried to grab the microphone back. "Keisha, we can talk privately." "No need," she said, stepping away. "Everything that needed saying just got said in front of God and 300 witnesses." Brielle was already halfway to the exit, heels clicking like gunfire. A Delta Sigma Theta line of women in red suddenly formed a polite but immovable wall. "Ma'am," one soror said sweetly, "you might want to return that ring first. We know a good pawn shop on Campbellton Road." Brielle yanked the diamond off and flung it on the carpet. It rolled under a table like a cheap marble. Marcus stood alone in the middle of the ballroom, tuxedo sagging, while his entire world burned down in 4K. Keisha kissed her mama, hugged Denise, and walked out on her own terms, emerald gown trailing behind her like a queen's robe. 3 months later, the Buckhead house sold at auction for $4.4 million, cash, as is. Keisha didn't even attend. She was in Costa Rica, barefoot on a balcony, signing contracts for her new medical device company. Marcus's practice closed. The sign came down the same week the AJC ran the headline, "Prominent Atlanta surgeon bankrupt after anniversary meltdown goes viral." The video had 87 million views and its own Wikipedia page. Brielle moved back to College Park with her mama. Last anyone heard, she was selling Louboutins on Poshmark. And Keisha? She bought a penthouse condo overlooking Piedmont Park, started a foundation that pays college tuition for girls who want to be engineers and poets at the same time, and threw herself the real party 1 year later on the exact same date. 500 people this time, no husband, no drama, just a band, a step team, and a 10-tier cake that said in gold icing, "I wasn't put on this earth to be anybody's footnote." When the clock struck midnight, Keisha raised a glass of champagne to the skyline and whispered to the city lights. 30 years was the tuition, freedom was the degree. Then she danced, really danced, until the sun came up over Atlanta, emerald silk long gone, wearing jeans and diamonds and a smile that no one would ever dim again.